Do you remember the thrill of stepping onto the high street on a Saturday morning? The sound of chatter blending with the squeak of new shoes, and the familiar scent of polished counters and fresh packaging? For many, the glass doors of certain shops represented more than entry into a store. They were portals into a shared cultural experience. These retailers were not simply places to hand over money, they were woven into our childhoods, our family routines, and the very rhythm of British community life. Today, we wander back in time through 10 once-beloved names that defined what it meant to shop in Britain, each now gone but never forgotten. Number 1. Woolworths. Woolworths was never merely a shop. It was an institution etched into the heart of British culture. Those iconic red doors were a gateway to joy. Children pressed their noses against the glass, already anticipating the treasures that lay beyond. Once inside, the aroma of pick and mix sweets mingled with the faint scent of vinyl records, conjuring a sensory memory that still lingers in countless minds. Founded in the early 1900s, Woolworths became a cross-generational hub. Grandparents who had once held their parents' hands in the aisles returned decades later with grandchildren, creating a chain of memories stretching across time. The magic lay in its sheer unpredictability. Where else could you find a set of saucepans, a packet of school exercise books, a pair of budget socks, and a shiny new pop single all within a single trip? The pick and mix counter was the crown jewel. Children, eyes wide and coins clutched tightly in small fists, balanced on tiptoes to reach the containers. Cola bottles, fizzy cherries, jelly snakes, and sherbet lemons glistened under the lights, promising small joys for pennies. Parents watched fondly, remembering their own sweet-toothed moments decades earlier. The music section provided another kind of magic. Long before streaming and instant downloads, Woolworths gave ordinary people access to the soundtracks of their lives. Affordable singles and albums lined the racks, inviting teenagers to build collections that shaped their identities. Many people still recall the thrill of buying a very first record there, sliding it from its paper sleeve and feeling part of a cultural moment. Toys transformed the store into an enchanted forest in December. Action Man figures, Barbie dolls, board games, and remote-control cars beckoned from shelves stacked high, while Christmas lists were scribbled with products first glimpsed on those very aisles. At its height, Woolworths operated more than 800 stores, yet when the financial crisis struck in the late 2000s, even the mighty Woolies could not endure. The day the last shutters fell felt like a national bereavement. Britain did not merely lose a retailer, it lost a repository of shared childhood. Number 2. BHS. British Home Stores, affectionately known as BHS, stood for more than affordability. Launched in the 1920s, it represented security, dependability, and understated good taste. Each store felt like a carefully arranged home where families could walk through different rooms, discovering everything they needed to make their houses more comfortable and stylish. The ground floor usually dazzled with fashion. Rows of neatly folded jumpers and racks of dresses invited busy mothers and working fathers alike to refresh wardrobes without straining budgets. The upper levels revealed lighting displays, bedding, and kitchenware. Shoppers lingered beneath chandeliers or beside bedside lamps, dreaming of reimagining their living spaces. Perhaps most beloved were the cafes. These weren't mere pit stops, they were institutions. Shoppers gathered over china cups filled with steaming tea, often paired with generous slices of sponge cake or hearty plates of shepherd's pie. Children fidgeted impatiently, eager to tug their parents toward the toy section, while friends treated the cafe as a social club where news and gossip were exchanged. Every late summer, BHS became synonymous with school uniforms. Mothers and fathers guided children into changing rooms, adjusting blazers, checking skirt lengths, and ensuring shoes left growing space. The annual ritual felt like a rite of passage, preparing families for the year ahead. When BHS collapsed in the year 2016 amid controversy, the shock rippled through communities. It was not just a business failure. It was the abrupt disappearance of a trusted family companion after nearly 90 years of loyal service. Number 3. C&A. C&A arrived on British shores with continental flair. Founded in Europe, the brand translated international style into affordable choices for British families. By the 1970s and 80s, The logo itself, bold, rounded, instantly recognizable, had become a beacon of fashion on every high street. Stepping into C&A was like entering a festival of clothing. The women's department offered everything from crisp blouses for the office to flowing dresses for weekends. Men browsed reliable trousers, jackets, and shirts that combined practicality with style. Children's clothing was bright, playful, and durable enough to withstand muddy playgrounds and rainy afternoons. C&A's window displays were legendary. Mannequins wore clothes arranged with dramatic flair, often themed around seasons or events, enticing passers-by to pause and imagine themselves in those outfits. Teenagers gravitated toward the Clockhouse label, which gave them stylish, affordable ways to express identity without straining pocket money. The stores buzzed with energy on weekends. Families compared choices in front of mirrors, arms draped with hangers, while younger siblings darted between racks. The fitting rooms echoed with laughter, the occasional frustrated sigh, and the excitement of discovery. By the year 2001, however, C&A's UK operations had closed, leaving British shoppers bereft of a beloved fashion destination. Though still thriving abroad, in Britain the brand survives only in memory, woven into the fabric of high street nostalgia. Number 4. Littlewoods. Littlewoods was more than a retailer, it was a cultural phenomenon. While many recall its department stores, even more remember the thick, glossy mail-order catalogues that arrived at households like parcels of possibility. For countless families, these catalogues were windows into dreams. Children sprawled on carpets with biro pens, circling toys they longed to unwrap at Christmas or birthdays. Parents studied furniture and appliances, balancing aspirations with budgets. The genius lay in the weekly payment system. Families could bring home goods immediately and pay later in affordable installments, transforming luxury into attainable reality. Littlewoods also wove itself into Britain's sporting fabric with its football pools. Millions of households spent weekends carefully predicting match results. Fathers hunched over kitchen tables with pens and newspapers, praying for that elusive string of score draws that might change lives forever. Doing the pools became a phrase that carried both hope and routine. In the stores, families found clothing, furniture, and electronics all under one roof. The brand embodied trustworthiness, reliability, and the idea that ordinary people deserved quality goods. But as retail evolved in the early 2000s, Littlewoods stores disappeared. Though the catalogue lingered in altered forms, the name itself gradually faded, leaving behind nearly a century of cultural impact. Number 5. Comet. Comet was a temple of technology. For families in the 1970s through the 2000s, entering Comet felt like stepping into the future. Walls of televisions blazed simultaneously, flooding the space with color and sound. Stereo systems blasted demonstration tracks, filling aisles with music that invited comparison between different models. Refrigerators and washing machines gleamed under bright lights, promising convenience and modernity. The brilliance of Comet was that it made futuristic gadgets seem attainable. Finance deals and installment plans meant families who once thought color televisions were distant luxuries suddenly saw them as achievable. Sales staff patiently explained the technicalities of new appliances, translating jargon into everyday language, ensuring customers left feeling empowered rather than intimidated. Equally important was service. Delivery drivers and engineers brought products directly into living rooms and kitchens, carefully setting up machines and ensuring everything ran smoothly. That human touch created loyalty. Customers trusted Comet not just for goods but for guidance and reliability. Yet the rise of online retail changed the landscape. When shoppers could compare prices instantly and schedule deliveries at the click of a button, Comet's carefully crafted model faltered. By the year 2012, the company entered administration. The closure of its stores marked the end of an era when technology felt like a communal discovery rather than a solitary online click. Number 6. Dixons. Dixons was where Britain truly fell in love with gadgets. Established in the 1930s, the brand evolved into a high street mecca for electronics. Entering a Dixons store was like stepping into a treasure chest filled with the latest wonders of human ingenuity. This was the place where people bought their first VHS players, guided by staff who understood how revolutionary home recording truly was. Later, Walkmans promised teenagers the gift of private soundtracks, and Dixons became the place to test, compare, and finally choose the device that would transform daily journeys. The magic of Dixons was its hands-on approach. Customers were encouraged to touch, test, and experiment. Cameras were lifted to eyes, buttons pressed, shutters clicked. Early home computers beckoned curious minds to explore the future of digital life. Hi-fi systems played crystal-clear sound, drawing nods of approval from shoppers who had never heard such fidelity. Staff were enthusiasts as much as employees. They were educators, translators of technical complexity into plain words. Loyal customers often returned to their salesperson whenever upgrades beckoned. Eventually, the familiar Dixons name vanished from the high street in 2006, rebranded under Currys Digital. Though the products continued, the sense of personal discovery unique to Dixons was gone, leaving only warm memories. Number 7. Habitat. Habitat, founded in the swinging 1960s by Terence Conran, redefined what it meant to live stylishly in Britain. It was not just about selling chairs, rugs, or lamps. It was about teaching a nation that design could be democratic. Walking through a Habitat store felt like touring a perfectly arranged modern flat. Each room setting was a lesson in harmony, proving that functionality and beauty could live side by side. Young couples and students, once resigned to mismatched hand-me-downs, discovered sleek Scandinavian furniture they could actually afford thanks to flat-pack innovation. The catalogues were as influential as the stores themselves. Glossy pages presented not just products but aspirational lifestyles. Families flipped through them like storybooks, imagining how a new sofa or rug might transform their homes. These catalogues seeped into the nation's design consciousness, shaping trends for decades. Habitat's kitchens introduced garlic presses, pasta machines, and olive oil pourers to British households, expanding culinary horizons. Suddenly, kitchens were not just functional rooms, they were stages for experimentation and style. Though a few concessions survive within larger retailers, the closure of standalone Habitat stores left a void. For many, it felt like the end of Britain's design awakening. Number 8. Rumbelows. Rumbelows may not be as instantly recognizable today, but in the 1970s and 80s it played a vital role. The chain specialized in electricals, yet its true genius lay in its rental system. Families could enjoy the latest television, washing machine, or video recorder without paying prohibitive upfront costs. For many working-class households, this was transformative. A brand new refrigerator humming in the kitchen or a large-screen television in the lounge felt like a step into modern life. Rental agreements spread the costs into manageable amounts, making comfort and convenience accessible to all. The stores themselves were lively. Rows of televisions flickered with Saturday sport, while shiny cassette recorders invited curious hands. Engineers provided reliable delivery and maintenance, cementing trust that lasted years. Staff often knew families by name, having supplied them with successive upgrades as technology advanced. By the early 1990s, however, shifting attitudes toward ownership and aggressive competition from larger chains spelled the end. By 1995, Rumbelows had disappeared, remembered fondly as a brand that quietly democratized domestic luxury. Number 9. Toys R Us. For children of the 1980s and 90s, Toys R Us was nothing short of a palace. Its vast warehouses transformed toy shopping into spectacle. The scale alone set hearts racing. Wide aisles seemed endless, stretching into childhood infinity. Action figures stood proudly in serried ranks. Lego displays showcased dazzling creations that made young builders dream big. The bicycle department gleamed with chrome and color, promising freedom and speed. Meanwhile, the video game section buzzed with excitement as children queued to try consoles and cartridges. Trips to Toys R Us became cherished rituals. On Saturdays, families piled into cars, children clutching birthday money or carefully saved pocket change. Parents navigated crowded trolleys while children negotiated over choices, their eyes lit by neon packaging. At Christmas, stores became enchanted wonderlands. Demonstrations of the year's must-have toys turned visits into events, creating memories as magical as the gifts themselves. But the rise of online shopping, shrinking margins, and financial woes led to closure in 2018. When the lights dimmed for the last time, childhood lost one of its greatest playgrounds. Number 10. Blockbuster. Blockbuster, with its iconic blue and yellow signage, defined weekend family entertainment for an entire generation. Entering one of its stores was to step into a library of cinematic dreams. Aisles stretched with VHS tapes, later DVDs, neatly categorized into action, comedy, romance, and family favorites. The new releases wall was always crowded on Friday evenings, as families hoped to secure the most sought-after titles. Staff recommendation cards offered guidance, helping viewers discover hidden gems. The ritual of choosing together was half the joy. Parents debated comedies versus thrillers, teenagers lobbied for the latest horror flick, and younger siblings clutched animated adventures. The checkout counter completed the theater of the evening, with popcorn, sweets, and fizzy drinks ready to transform living rooms into cinemas. Even the return process became ritualistic. Families drove back to drop off tapes, often discussing what they had watched and planning their next selection. But streaming services changed everything almost overnight. By 2013, British Blockbuster stores were gone. The end of Blockbuster marked more than a business failure. It marked the disappearance of a communal family ritual.